I'm up here speaking to you this morning, but as you're looking at me, let me tell you how my life was changed by an average, everyday person who decided that they wanted to help me to hear and follow Jesus. So a long time ago, if like in Star Wars, a long time ago in a far-off galaxy, when I became a disciple of Jesus, I was a student at the University of Calgary in my hometown, Calgary, Alberta, Canada. And I had been trying to figure out about life. I was a political science major. Earlier, like a year before that, I had gone to the Soviet Union at that time to try to figure out what I really believed about politics and about life. And I had come back and I've been attending university. And my goal when I came back from the Soviet Union, I'd actually been in Russia, in Moscow, and I was on a bus driving back from Moscow to London to fly back home. And I wrote down 2 resolutions. One was to take French and really take it to heart. And the second one was to find out more about the Bible. So my second semester, I couldn't get the French class that I wanted, so I had to take a French class with a guy, I just knew him as Professor Jacobs. And he moved from being Professor Jacobs to being Mac, the guy that changed my life. He was just an average, everyday person trying to do his best to be a French professor. And one day, I went to get help because I'm not very good with languages, and I was sitting waiting to go in and see him, and his door was opened, and I could hear him talking to somebody about the Bible. So I went in, I got my help with French, and I stood up, and I can still remember it like it was yesterday. I stood up, and I thought, what the heck, just ask him. So I asked him about the Bible, and he ends up talking to me, asked me to sit down, and I spent the next 2 hours listening to him teach me about the Bible and about Jesus, and it resulted in a hairpin turn in my life. By that August, I went off to study the Bible for myself. I was baptized. He baptized me, and I went off to study the Bible. And my life literally was transformed by an everyday person who just said he wanted to help me hear and follow Jesus. Now, the good news about that story is that resulted through my influence and him partnering with me, that my mother was baptized into Christ, then my father was baptized into Christ. Before my grandparents died, they were baptized into Christ. My little sister Cindy came where I was studying the Bible at this place in Arkansas, and before long she was baptized into Christ, all because an average everyday person said, I want to help others to hear and follow the voice of Jesus. Let me talk to you about this language of being disciples who help make disciples. So the word Christian is our common word for Christian, and in the United States, a lot of people claim to be Christians, right? You have Joe Biden. He claims to be a Christian, and if you watched this last week, J.D. Vance claims to be a Christian. And when we look at people, we get confused when they claim to be a Christian. But let me tell you what's less confusing. So in the Bible, the word Christian is only used 3 times, but approximately 270 times, 269 times, the word disciple is used. Now, most of us know about disciple because there were the disciples who followed Jesus. And one of the things that we think is really important is that we actually re-adopt that language of being a disciple. Because a disciple is not somebody who claims a label. A disciple is somebody who's identified by who they're following. Or, again, I'm going to use this expression, somebody who hears and follows Jesus. That would be a disciple. In Mark chapter 1, verse 17, Jesus put it this way. In his initial invitation to people like John and Peter, Jesus said to them, follow me, and I will make you become fishers of men. Can everybody see that definition? So I'm going to hear and follow Jesus, and what is Jesus going to do in my life? In my life, Jesus is going to help me to become something, and then to also join him in that mission of being disciples. So let me give you a bigger definition of a disciple. So it's a definition that we use in our training of church leaders. So what is a disciple? A disciple is somebody who follows Jesus, is being changed by Jesus. Let me just talk to you about that. When we start to follow Jesus, we can often have a concept that we want to obey, but we're all going to face the fact that we fall short. I was reminded of this in one of the songs, how God is for us, even though we fall down. I like the expression I've heard monks use. What's it like to be a monk? We fall down, we get back up. We fall down, we get back up. Because that's my life, and my hunch is that's yours. We fall down, we get back up. We fall down, we get back up. But what happens, the longer we're following Jesus, there's a transformation that happens. I can tell you that I'm a much more gentle, a much more patient person. I trust God at deeper levels than I ever did before, because over time he's been changing me. And the ultimate goal as followers of Jesus is that we want to become like him. And if Jesus devoted 65% of his time to the mission of making disciples, then the more I become like him, I'm going to have his heart for the world, and I too want to make disciples. So the idea that a disciple is somebody who's following Jesus, being changed by Jesus, and joins the mission of Jesus is so important. It's another way of saying that a disciple hears and follows Jesus, or that we help others to hear and follow Jesus. Now, when we began, I said that it's the most important mission on planet Earth. So I just want to encourage you to think of, somebody created this little flyer, and I really like it. A disciple is someone who's moved from being a recipient of the church's mission to being responsible for the church's mission. You like that? In other words, this whole thing about being a disciple is not something somebody does for me. It's something that I'm involved in, and we are involved in together. So I want to tell you just some key ways to understand it. What happened to me is this guy, Mac Jacobs, sat down with me and literally, as a French professor, changed my life. I can hardly speak a word of French now, these years later, but I'm bad with language. I can hardly speak a word of French now, but I tell you what, I'm a disciple of Jesus, and I know a lot about following Jesus, and I care a lot about it.